Let us begin this meditation chanting a short Vedic mantra on yajna from Rigveda. Ayam yajno bhuvanasya nabhi. This sacrifice is the navel of the universe. In other words, this sacrifice is the innermost center, keeping up the divine rhythm of the universe. Sit relaxed in a comfortable posture of your choice. Start breathing slowly and rhythmically. Experience in yourself the presence of the Supreme Being. Surrender yourself as the sacrificial victim on His altar. The idea and performance of sacrifice is a central theme and ritual we see almost in all religions. This is because of the unavoidable role which sacrifices play for establishing and maintaining the lost rhythm of the universe. Today, let us meditate on Jesus as the priest as well as the victim of this sacrifice. And in the similar manner, each one of us is also a priest and victim of sacrifice we offer every day. Looking at Jesus, the high priest, who offered himself as a victim of sacrifice for our salvation, let us begin the bhajan. Yajagam yajana drivyam, the offerer and the victim of the sacrifice. Nityam yajna bhujam bhaje bhaje, he is also the receiver of the sacrifice. Pabaknam pabarihidam, he is sinless and the great one who destroys sin. Loka papavaham param, taking the sins of the world upon himself. One important aspect of sacrifice which we comfortably miss is that we are both the offerer and the victim of the sacrifice. Let us sing once more, Yajagam yajana drivyam, the offerer and the victim of the sacrifice.
Yajakam yajana dravyam nityam yajna bhujam bhaje bhaje.
Yajakam yajana dravyam nityam yajna bhujam bhaje bhaje.
Yajakam yajana dravyam nityam yajna bhujam bhaje bhaje. Papaknam paparahitam,
Papaghnam paparahitam,
papaknam paparahitam, loka papavaham param, loka papavaham param. Yajakam yajana dravyam कर्तव्यम्
From ancient times onwards, India and Israel had lived and developed in their own way a theology of yajna and an elaborate form of ritualism for the performance of the same. The Vedas speak of a primal man, Adi Purusha, whom gods offered as a sacrifice to the Almighty One. And from different parts of his body, this whole universe, together with the human beings, came to be. Thus, according to the Vedic literature, the origin of the universe is related to the sacrifice of a primal man. But an important question arises: why the need of yajna or sacrifice? The offering of sacrifice is closely linked to the idea of restoring the heavenly rhythm of the universe and all those who live in this universe. The original Rida or rhythm was distorted when our first parents disobeyed the divine commandments. This was due to ahankara, the ego-centeredness of human being, a byproduct of the gift of consciousness, which give freedom of self-decision to every human being. Our ancestors thought that we have distorted the rhythm which God had placed in the universe. We too are responsible for that. We need to offer the universe back to God in order to regain its original rhythm and thus get reconciled with God and the universe. Therefore, they offered some animals or things from the world as a sacrifice to be reconciled with God, thinking that God would be pleased with them. So, the function of sacrifice is the reconciliation with God and the restoration of the lost rhythm. However, the performance of yajna is only a symbolic act of resetting our attitude by sacrificing our own self or ego in order to serve God and our brothers and sisters in the world. The most acceptable yajna is therefore my own self-giving to God for the welfare of all who represent God to me. When sacrifice lost its inner spirit of self-giving and was reduced to a meaningless ritual, the prophets of Israel criticized the Paschal sacrifice of the Jews, which was a joyful and celebratory remembrance of the Israelites' freedom from the slavery in Egypt. Buddha appeared in India almost a century before these prophets, discarding the ritualism of Indian yajnas, preached a spirituality of detachment and renunciation. It was a few centuries after Jesus appeared in Palestine, preaching the good news of salvation, not abolishing the sacrifice offering altogether, but offering himself, especially his own body, as a victim of sacrifice for the sins of the whole world, irrespective of birth, country, and culture of the people. Let us focus our attention on Jesus, the true Yajna Purusha, and be united with him in his sacrifice. Return to your breathing rhythm and feel the inner silence. We read from the letter to the Hebrews the very words the psalmist says about the sacrifices and offerings. When Christ came into the world, he said, "Sacrifices and offerings you have not desired, but a body has you prepared for me. In burnt offerings and sin offerings you have taken no pleasure." Then I said, "I have come to do your will, O God, as it is written of me in the roll of the book." Hebrews. It is the self-offering that God wants from us, like Jesus who sacrificed his whole life by breaking his body and shedding his blood. This very offering was so pleasing to his Father than any burnt offering or sin offering. Christians are called to continue to perform such a sacrifice as Christ did. When we participate in the sacrifice of Jesus, we should not forget that we are also the yajna, the victim in this sacrifice, along with Jesus who emptied himself. This remembrance of his sacrifice that we offer at the altar becomes meaningless unless there is a corresponding change of mind and heart. If we will reject our offerings as God rejected all rituals offered without adhering to its essence, the performance of yajna will be certainly a valid symbol, but becomes useful only for the one participating in it with a correspondingly disposed mind and spirit of sacrifice, with an earnest desire to become one with the sacrifice of Jesus. The participant in the Eucharistic sacrifice repeats yajna, the sacrifice of Jesus, and places himself or herself as the victim of sacrifice on the altar for the welfare of the other. The saints were ready to sacrifice their lives and became partakers in the yajna of Jesus. We have two typical modern saints who followed Jesus by sacrificing their lives: Saint Therese of Lisieux and Saint Alphonsa. By becoming the victims of sacrifice, they suffered silently for spreading the kingdom of Jesus as zealous missionaries. Each one of us is a priest, and each one of us is also a victim, along with Jesus, the high priest, and Jesus, the supreme victim of sacrifice. Let us try to imbibe the spirit of sacrifice in everything we do, and perseveringly suffer with Jesus, the Yajna Purusha, and let our lives become pleasing to God. Let us conclude this meditation singing a meaningful hymn by placing ourselves on the altar as the victim of sacrifice along with Jesus. Listen to these verses and meditatively sing in your heart. Let us all recall the Vedic hymn to our minds. Ayam yajno bhuvanasya nati. This sacrifice is the navel of the universe. This sacrifice is the sacrifice of Jesus as priest and victim of the sacrifice. This sacrifice is also my own sacrifice as priest and victim, because in every Eucharist we celebrate, we participate both in the priesthood and in the suffering and death of Jesus for us.
യാചകം യജനദ്രവ്യം നിത്യം യജ്ഞഭുജം ഭജേ ഭജേ.
യാചകം യജനദ്രവ്യം നിത്യം യജ്ഞഭുജം ഭജേ ഭജേ.
യാചകം യജനദ്രവ്യം നിത്യം യജ്ഞഭുജം ഭജേ ഭജേ. പാപഘ്നം പാപരഹിതം
പാപഘ്നം പാപരഹിതം.
പാപഘ്നം പാപരഹിതം ലോകപാപവഹം പരം. ലോകപാപവഹം പരം. യാചകം യജനദ്രവ്യം നിത്യം യജ്ഞഭുജം ഭജേ ഭജേ. യാചകം യജന